Hey guys, this is Caleb. Sorry about that. I was hosting this and we had some technical difficulties. My computer froze. Anyways, we're back with the interview part two. So we'll just try to take off where we left off. So, Stacey, Pat, you guys are doing a great job. Go ahead and take it away.
Hey, how about a shout out for Caleb and Yelena in the comment section for busting it behind the scenes to get us back up and running and keeping us flowing. They're the ones bringing the your questions to us, and we'll get them to Cathryn. So show them some love in the live hangout because this stuff can be stressful, especially with technical difficulties. But Cathryn, thanks for being patient with us as we get back up and running. Um, gotta love it. Yeah, so we were talking about niche, and you were contacting your market, I think, and just if you had any struggles in getting people on the phone, and kind of how you went about that process.
So I would set it up with email. Cold calling doesn't really work for me in that industry just because people are usually with patients, and I really want to have a conversation. So I don't think that I wanted to just call up and be like, "Hey, tell me about your business." So all of my calls, I think, were pre-set up through email.
And did you were setting up with the assistant then, I assume, because chiropractors are probably in appointments most of the day. Did you have any trouble? I know a lot of people who were doing kind of the medical market with doctors struggled with getting a hold of them, but it sounds like
Uh,
you.
I didn't really talk to their assistant much. I just talked to the person that owned the business for the
Awesome.
most part.
Okay. And
Yeah.
was that usually the chiropractor?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So talk about your first call, how you got him on the call, how the first IE call went, how you were feeling, all of that.
I think my first IE call was 13 minutes, and it was in December, and it was before the IE content was released. I didn't know what I was doing.
So
Um,
you were taking action before the foundation started?
no, the foundation started, but they hadn't released the IE module, and I
Uh-huh.
was impatient. So I just figured I'd try it, and so I'd emailed this guy. What I did, I just sort of emailed this guy, and I found his email randomly through Reportive. I tried that hack, and it worked, and I was like, oh, yes. And I
I love
emailed
it.
him, and he emailed me back on a Sunday, and we set up a call for the next day. But I mean, it wasn't bad. He was nice, but I didn't really know what I was doing, so it wasn't really smooth. So it was,
But what I love,
just
and this
whatever
is a
I heard on podcasts or whatever, I would just try that. But so it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't. It just got me to pick up the phone, which was something I wasn't used to.
Yeah, absolutely. And common theme here, if you watched Monday's Hangout between John, Catherine, and you will see this throughout the foundation and action taking. And I love that even before the content is out, you were, getting over the hump with making your first AE call and getting through the nerves, and you were just taking action like from go, which you'll see as a theme throughout Catherine's story because she is the one that I'm like, I go to the Facebook group and I'd be like, oh my gosh, like the list of things that you had like accomplished in a day, and I'm like, I gotta catch up to that. Like I'm behind. You were setting the bar, and it was awesome. It was super motivating for me, for sure.
Um,
So 13 minutes. Were you terrified, nervous when you picked up the phone?
oh yeah, I was kind of hoping he wouldn't pick up, but he did. Um,
Yeah.
but I was scared, but it's easier once you actually do it. Afterwards, I'm like, yeah, I did it, and I was in a like coffee shop, so it wasn't even an ideal place, but it was empty. But yeah, it was fine. I'm glad
Um,
I did it. It didn't give me any ideas, to be honest, but it was good
but it
just to
got you
start.
over your fear. Yeah.
Right.
So how many calls in before you found your idea? How many IA calls were you?
I was trying to think about this earlier. I don't actually know how many calls in because I had an idea that I picked up at one point. I was like, oh, this is it, and so I started sketching, the wire, the how the system would work, sort of thing. But
What
every
was the
time I
idea?
tried, it was helping practices instead of using insurance, how to get, cash, basically setting up cash practices,
Hmm.
um, and how to there was something out there that sort of already existed I found later, but that wasn't why I quit. It just seemed like too big of an issue for me to solve. And it wasn't like a hell yes. And that's why every time I would sit down to draw it, and I spent like 3 weeks on this idea, where every time I would sit down to draw it, I just got stuck. And so then I just circled back to my IE calls. And I called one of this contact that I had spoken to for like over an hour. And then I started talking to him, and then basically that call gave me my idea. And the idea that I came up with was an idea that he told me on one of my first calls. So maybe like when I'd spoken to this guy, and he told me the idea then, but I wasn't listening. I was focused on like, what can I build software around? Whereas he told me about this system that he uses that works. About setting up, building relationships with MDs, but I wasn't, and I was like, oh, that's a cool thing that he does, but I didn't see software in it. If that makes sense.
So wait, so sorry, I missed. Did you talk to him the first time and you didn't hear the idea? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, I heard what he said, and I was like, oh, that's cool, but to me, it wasn't a software idea. It was just, oh, that's a good system he has, but it was a manual system that he uses, and it wasn't. I just didn't think software when I heard it, and then I continued on my calls, and I heard some recurring themes, but again, I just didn't know how to solve it with software. And then when I circled back with the same guy, it just like struck me. I don't know if I just had an open mind. I was like, oh, I actually can solve this with software. I just wasn't listening before, and so I just dropped the previous idea, and then I went on to validate this idea.
So can you talk a little bit about the pain and what your software solves, what the idea is?
So the pain is getting referrals from professionals, like medical doctors, really. So how do you build up a relationship with MDs so that they'll send referrals to you? And chiropractors have a general pain with this because there's a lot of work that goes into setting up that relationship. And what the person that gave me the idea, he has this correspondence system that he uses that works really well. So when a new patient comes in, he takes certain information and he'll basically begin marketing to those doctors because they have a patient in common. So it sort of builds up this pipeline, but everything he does right now is manual. And so I was like, oh, this could easily be turned into a system where when the patient comes in, it goes into the system, and that sets up a pipeline so that his staff can take care of all of the letters, whereas before he was having to remember everything. Is this making sense?
Yeah, keep going.
So when he was telling me, he was like, yeah, he's telling me this thing that worked really well. And he basically was dictating these letters that he would send to these doctors for me, and I'm like writing it all down. And then it occurred to me that I could use this to both set up this pipeline so that the chiropractors can just automatically get this sort of marketing system working for them, and then track when doctors are sending them people. And also, if they get a patient from a doctor, it'll ping in the system, and then they can send out like a gift card or a thank you card. So it's like a touch plate, so they always know what's happening and where patients are coming from.
So this chiropractor essentially had an established lead gen process that he was manually managing himself offline, and it had proven ROI, proven success, and you took that process and essentially automated it for him.
Right.
And threw that in through the software.
And so yeah.
Okay.
And another part is, they can track where patients are coming from, because some people will do these, Groupons or other promotions, but it's a hard time to track what the ROI on these investments are. So then they can track where they're coming from, and did they get their ROI back on how much money they spent?
Yeah, absolutely. The metrics underneath, and ROI is, I would imagine, a huge selling point for your SaaS. So if you're going from manual to something like that, so they can focus their time on those that are giving them back the business, right?
Because sometimes a doctor will send a referral, but they won't even realize that it was sent from a doctor until months later. And so they sort of miss that opportunity to reach out and thank them or let them know how the patient got on and stuff like that. So this way they can always, in almost real time, figure out what's going on.
So you've got this idea from one chiropractor, and you said you went out and validated it. How did you go about validating the idea?
I basically went to a couple of other people I'd spoken to, and I mentioned what the idea would be, and they were interested. I didn't pre-sell them on it. Yeah.
Did you pre-sell the first guy?
He was my first funding user, but I didn't pre-sell him at that point.
Okay.
I came back to him later and showed him. I showed him what I'd taken from our discussions and turned it into something. But yeah, so I went back. There was a lot of stuff from earlier calls that also directly correlated with this problem I solved, but whenever I tried to think about it before, again, I couldn't think of this as a software thing, as a software solution. So I'm getting people like, oh, I wish we could get in touch with doctors, and I wish we were getting these referrals. So I sort of circled back and talked to a few more people, and then I basically just moved forward. I validated it with a few people, and I talked to enough people that I realized this was a problem already. So I figured, okay, let me just start drawing this up, and then I'll see if I can sell it.
You had a gut feeling about it?
Yeah. This one, as soon as I got off the call, the idea I had before, that's why I was having issues brought up. But as soon as I got off the call with the doctor, I was like, yeah, this is it for sure.
So you started sketching it out.
Yeah.
How was the sketching process? Talk about development, kind of where you went from there.
I did the systems diagram, and I know how I want things to work. I'm not very good at all the the really detailed things like that. A few people in the foundation who actually know software helped me out with that, because I would be mixing a flow diagram with a systems diagram. I still don't even know really what I did wrong, but apparently it was a bit of a shambles. But
did you have any software experience prior?
No.
So you were starting from scratch, right?
Yeah, I had no clue. I watched those videos like 6 times. In the content, trying to figure it out.
And you had support then through. Were you on Carl's team?
No, I was in Dennis's team.
Okay.
But in my mastermind, Ark helped me with drawing systems and explaining what should go where, and then I just started drawing the screens after that. Once I had an idea of what I wanted, I just started sort of sketching out not the detail of the screens, but like a map of where the screens would be. That was fun.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's in your wheelhouse, right? Yeah. You had your color pencils.
Yeah, I traded some design skills with other skills.
That's awesome. So I love that you struggled a little bit with the development piece, but you leaned on the community to help bridge the gap for you, and you ended up. Are you in development? Where are you at with?
Well, I actually partnered with a friend who's a developer, mainly because I'm not. Like I said, I don't really know anything about software, and he'd been a tech co-founder in a previous company which had sold, so I talked to him about the process and what the problem was going to be and what the solution looked like. So we had a lot of discussions about it, and then he came back to me with basically, okay, I could do this, and then we just teamed up because there's a lot of issues with this type of software. It has to be HIPAA compliant, which I didn't even realize how much hassle that was until, and he's very in the weeds and in the details, whereas I'm more, high level. This is what I wanted to do. I don't know how it's going to do that, but so I think we're kind of a nice mix because, I want to just do the marketing and sales, and he doesn't want to do anything. He just wants to, do all the technical things. So it sort of made sense for us.
So it seems like community was a big piece of your kind of foundation journey. You mentioned a couple people that have helped you along the way. Can you talk a little bit about how the community impacted your foundation experience?
Oh, the foundation is the community, to be honest. I mean, that's like the best part. No offense, Dane, but that's like the best part of the foundation because just the people are just great. I met some of my best friends out here, and I talk to them every day. So, you know, it's just the best. Like whenever I had problems with in my mastermind group, we would have sort of group calls where we'd go through sales or UI design, or Fabi would give us, how to contact people on LinkedIn, classes, and stuff like that. So the community, you learn a lot from the community.
Yeah,
And
it's like
people,
you get all
people
the.
will help you with things when they can. Like if someone, I think I reiterated changed my whole UI design at one point. I just updated it, and someone else in the foundation was having issues with their design, and some of their screens were similar to what mine were, like a dashboard and some templated stuff. I was like, here's my keynote, just take it and use it, and there was a lot of stuff like that. So you're just trading, what you're good at with someone else. Like I think I called it X-Men, so we're all X-Men and we all have secret powers. And
It's
I
so
can
true.
do one thing, but I can't do another thing. So if we just all band together, we can do a bunch of cool stuff.
Yeah, it's like there's all the content that the foundation provides, which is killer content, and then on top of that, you have like all these bright minds who are going through this process and like breaking the rules and discovering all these new things, and so it just keeps evolving, and there's so much there. If something doesn't work, you have 5 or 6 other options out there to try next. There's so much opportunity to take action and people to help you, and everybody. I was blown away by how
post
giving.
on Facebook. Literally within 10 minutes, you'll have probably 3 other ways to do something.
Yeah, no joke. It's so true. It's so much more active and fun than my regular newsfeed, that's for sure. So run through kind of the pre-sale with Clinic Hero, and then we're going to jump into the Kickstarter campaign. If you're out in the community, throw out some questions. Yelena's kicking them up to us here on the side, and if you're interested in the foundation, if you're resonating with Cathryn's story, hit that Apply Now button. We would love to see you in there. 120 students only this go around, so you're going to get like ridiculous amounts of personal attention. We had 600 in our class, and I thought there was a lot of personal attention there. Yeah. So you're going to have Cathryn in there kicking your butt. So yeah, hit that Apply Now. And let's pop into your pre-sales. So you validated the idea. How did you get your first pre-sale?
I sent emails to not all of the people, but the people I had good IE calls with. Mm-hmm. And I also sent some cold emails. I don't know what possessed me to do that, to be honest. But I sent 10 emails, I remember, on a Sunday, or 10 or 12 emails on a Sunday. Basically, I've been putting off selling this thing, so I'd done everything. I got the website up, I got the info pack, and then I was like, oh God, I have to try and sell this thing now. And so I remember on a Sunday, I set them up on a Sunday so they would automatically go out on Monday. These 10 to 12 emails to go out, and then 4 people booked like a pre-sales call with me for the Thursday of that same week, and I hadn't done any pre-sales calls, so I had 4 pre-sales calls in one day, and the day before, so on a Wednesday, I launched my Kickstarter, and then I did Pitch Fest that night, and then I had 4 pre-sales calls the next day.
Whoa, hold up. Okay, there's so many things there I have to ask. One, I want to know what was in your email that led to 4 pre-sales, pre-sale demos or pre-sale calls, and then I'll ask you my other questions all right now.
So I sent it to the people I'd spoken to on the phone. So I just said, okay, this is what I've discovered over the last 6 months. Issue. I think I mentioned looking for founding users. If you I don't really remember what I said, but it was sort of like a 2 or 3 short paragraph emails or email.
Into your warm leads, so you'd already contacted them.
Right.
Gotcha.
So, and that there was a link to the website. So 2 people went to the website and then put their email address in there and set up a call. And then 2 people just replied to my email and set up the call.
So, do you think you needed a website? Do you think you could have got pre-sales without a website?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But where's the fun in that, right?
Absolutely, especially for a designer, right? That's like half the fun.
Yeah. Then I would have had to pre-sale a week earlier. I can procrastinate.
Yeah, somebody'd be kicking your ear. So you had.
I don't think you needed a website, but I just did it because maybe it was like a limiting belief or something that I couldn't sell without it.
Yeah, I totally had all of that, I think, coming in. I have a marketing background, and so like I remember starting like little small businesses or an Etsy store or whatever, and like the first thing I would go to is like, what's my logo going to look like, and what's the design and the website and all of those things, right? The perfect photos and like all the distraction with the things that I love to do, and like I didn't even think to focus on the product or seeing if people actually wanted to purchase the product before I, made the fancy logo. So I have the business cards, the file folder full of business cards of, all these kind of past little stores. Do you have that?
Oh yeah. I made the logo. I remember I posted a couple of logo options in the foundation Facebook page, and I made some like sarcastic joke like, we all know you can't sell a SaaS without a perfect logo. We all know from the pre-selling content sell a SaaS without a website and a logo. And I think Josh Isaac posted like, what?
Busting you out.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, Josh is always good at that, busting you out. Tell me about Pitch Fest.
Pitch
For
Fest,
people on the call who don't know what that is.
2 students from last year, Jeff and Kevin, put together this come on, and they would have some judges, and the students would pitch their idea. Basically, he treat it like it's a pre-sales call, so you're calling a warm lead, and you're basically trying to pre-sell them your idea. So they, give you feedback on and what you could do better and things like that.
So I think you had that.
Yeah. So originally I was supposed to be on a Thursday night, but then I got the 4 pre-sales calls. Be on the Wednesday night because I could use some practice. So they allowed me to switch. And I did that on a Wednesday. But I also didn't have my demo finished. I had the Kickstarter and it launched on Wednesday, and then I was supposed to do Pitch Fest that night and make my demo all for the next day. And it turns out Kickstarter is kind of distracting. I actually got this thing called Antisocial on my computer so that I could block Kickstarter so I could get ready for Pitch Fest. And so when I did my pre-sales call, like my demo was basically a keynote presentation with links to certain pages. So it was a very carefully crafted keynote presentation where if I click on the wrong space, it's all just it's like a house of cards. I click on the wrong space, it's not going anywhere. And so I had this thing on my screen, like, okay, you can go from here to here to here to here, and that's it. So if they had wanted to go, somewhere off the map that I'd already made out, I would have been pretty screwed.
That is awesome. So you had you went through Pitch Fest, you had these pre-sales set up. Tell me the story of your first pre-sale, and then we'll hit Kickstarter story because I can't wait to tell that one. That's awesome.
So I did the 4 calls in the day. The first 2 calls were cold calls, and then the second 2 were people that I'd spoken to before. So the pre-sale was actually the guy that gave me the idea, which is kind of funny. Because he gave me the idea basically, but he was excited about it. And so he took his credit card. He gave me his credit card over the phone, his credit card number over the phone.
Wow.
And and I just wrote it on a piece of paper. I didn't even have the guts to do anything with it for like 2 weeks, like to charge it or anything. And there's a
Uh-huh.
funny story. So I finally charged it after 2 weeks, and then a month later I get this call, and I'd spoken to him a few times now, so I kind of recognize the area code of where he calls from.
Hmm.
So I get this call on my phone, and it's this guy Mark, and he calls me. He's like, "Hi, this is Mark. I'm just calling to as I'm looking at my credit card bill, and you know, basically he had this charge and he didn't recognize it, and
Oh.
so I recognized his voice, right? And so he called basically whoever this person had charged the money, and I was like, "Oh, hi, Mark, it's Cathryn," and then he was like, "Oh, okay," and then we set up. And then at that point, I was like, "Ah, let's actually do a call," because I didn't mean to reach out and show you a few things. But yeah, that was funny.
That's hilarious. Well, how did it feel when that first pre-sale hit your bank account?
Oh, it was awesome. I remember I told my dad, and he was like, "Wait a minute, someone give you money for something that doesn't exist." I'm like, "Yeah,
Yeah, no big deal.
uh, yeah." It was. I couldn't believe it. I was so happy.
So tell me
I,
where you're at today with Clinic Hero and kind of where you landed with pre-sales and where the progress is today.
so I got 5 pre-sales. I think 6,200 and something dollars. Um, I started working with Michael, so he's developing it. So the first version should be out in about 2 weeks. Um,
Are you excited?
like the MVP, yeah, I'm excited. Nervous though, because now I have to
Yeah?
start onboarding people, and yeah,
Uh-huh.
that whole process makes me nervous. Actually, someone that's interested in joining the foundation spoke to me earlier, and they said something like, "Oh, I'm concerned about maintenance of the SaaS product after. Like, do you get a developer to do that, or like
Hmm.
how does the ongoing maintenance work?" To your problems. If you have customers and a product, you can easily find someone to run the product. Like that's like no worries. You can deal with that when you come to it also.
Uh-huh.
Like right now I'm just like in sales mode type thing now. And now I have to get into onboarding mode, so then I'll have to learn how to do that. So I'm just trying to learn stuff as I do it. It's pretty much how I'm working. So I don't know how I'm gonna maintain it either. I guess Michael will do that. But I'll figure that out when it comes time.
Yeah, focus on the step right ahead, right?
Right.
Have you got to click through? Like, have you had a live version and testing it all yet, or?
Yeah, he actually lives not far from me, so I went over last Wednesday,
Mhm.
and he showed me the different pages. So it's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
I have to make
So,
it look a little better, but we're gonna spend a couple of days doing that.
of course you are.
It's funny. I'm like, so can we move this? Can we make this like this? And he's like, okay, we're just like laying it out right now, and then you're gonna come over and we're gonna spend like 2 days, making it pretty. Like, okay,
As long as you have the opportunity to make it pretty.
yeah,
So I'm gonna hop over to some questions that are coming through on the live hangout page. Darren's got some awesome ones here, so I'm gonna hit you rapid fire. Are you ready?
sure.
So he wants to know, how did the foundation make you more effective?
Oh, um, wow. It made me realize what's the highest leveraged activities that I can be doing right now. So since I joined the foundation, like I said, I used to ship things out of my apartment. Like I literally at Christmas time paid someone to come to my apartment and ship things for me, and it was like I was basically paying for an apartment in New York. There was a shipping warehouse. So my coach from the foundation, Dennis, we were on a call once, and I was like bitching about the post office or something, and he was like, "What are you?" He's like, "Seriously, what are you doing with your life? You need to get out of your apartment." He didn't like it, um, and so then literally I got off that call, and I just sent like 4 emails to 4 fulfillment centers that I found through Shopify, and within I took
Uh-oh. It looks like we lost Catherine. Yelena, can I hit you to get a hold of Cathryn, and I'll kind of keep rolling with some of the questions about the foundation that we have rolling in. There was an awesome one here from. Hold on, let me find it. I think they were asking about how the content has changed from last course to this course. I think from our course there was 600 people, and this course you're going to have a lot more personal attention. There's 120 students, the smallest class size ever, so there'll be lots of accountability. And then they're working really hard behind the scenes on a team leader program. And kind of restructuring that, and there'll be a whole lot of details for that for students as they launch. But I'm super excited about that. One of the alumni is helping out with that, and she is sensational. She's going to do an awesome job. And then the other piece is they spend a lot of time this since our last class reworking the content, and kind of reorganizing it and making sure, kind of like what Cathryn was saying, that they're focusing on the highest leverage activities. So you'll have core content and you'll have supplemental content. And so you'll know exactly what you need to be focusing on to take action and move forward with your next step. So let's see. Hopping on here for some more questions. Thanks for sticking with me as I just address these off the cuff. I don't think I can answer some of these on behalf of Cathryn, but I'll see what I can do. Let's see. One of these is, are you a first-time entrepreneur? I can answer that for myself. I had dabbled in entrepreneurship, but I had never been successful. I had kind of a couple of different creative endeavors, I guess I'd say. I like to make things. I like to do woodworking, and I started a couple little stores, but I was always terrified of selling. And so, I'd start them, and I'd, get scared and not be afraid and give them away for free and not ask for money and all sorts of stuff like that. But the foundation was huge for me in terms of my mindset and shifting that around and how I see my value. Never been hallelujah, Cathryn. Of different creative is
hey,
back.
Sorry, I don't know what happened.
Hey, no, that's okay. You saved me because I was bumbling through answering questions myself.
Yeah.
So I'm thrilled you're back. Do you remember where we left off? I forgot myself.
I think I was rambling.
We'll throw out another question at you.
Something.
That's okay. Can you suggest any tips for getting the most out of the foundation?
Just
new student coming in and
like that's really
best
always
advice.
Literally, I don't.
And what if you fail?
To do something else. Usually, I do like a bunch of different things, and then sometimes things don't work. But if you just try everything, then you're not feeling like there's something you didn't do. So, and everyone's sort of in the same spot. So, if you pretty much just, I don't even know what to tell people. I'm just like, just do stuff every day.
Yeah, really, take action, right? It's the common theme. Here's one from Mike.
Sorry.
Go ahead. What were you going to say?
So sometimes, like, picking up the phone's really hard. Even for me, like, I took a month off, and then I was getting back to pre-selling, and it's, I would procrastinate to make calls, but if you make, like, an Excel sheet, I have to contact these 10 people over the next week, and then you have to call all these 10 people, or 2 people a day for the next week. Basically make sure you're picking up the phone. Like some days, I remember doing 4 IE calls in a day, and I was just exhausted by the last one. But it was just because I was kept picking up the phone. And sometimes it was because people that had stood me up the day before were calling me back. Usually 4 IE calls in a day is too, it's a lot.
How many IE calls did you say?
4
4.
in
And
a
this
day.
was,
And they were all long IE calls, so it could have been like 4 hours on the phone.
oh my gosh, you had a 4-hour IE call?
No. Like
Oh,
my
an
longest one
hour
was
each.
like, yeah,
I was gonna say, holy smokes, I think that'd be a record.
that'd be crazy.
um, so Warren, and I'm sure everybody wants you to tell us about your Kickstarter campaign, and kind of just give me the run through with that. He's curious if it was for funding Clinic Hero, but can you tell us how that came about and what it was?
So for my Shopify store, I was working whenever I wasn't doing foundation. I was working on this new print, and so actually my accountability partner Alan, I would write him every morning. Would be like, okay, this is the tasks I'm going to get done, and the print I was working on was the filmography of aircraft. So it's like hand-drawn planes from movies over the last 100 years.
How did you come up with that idea?
Because last year I did one, the filmography of cars, where I took cars from famous movies and TV shows, and then people asked me to do a plane one. And so I would write Al, and I would say, I'm doing this many calls, sending this many emails, drawing 2 planes, and this was going on for like months. And then I finally released this print. It was the filmography of aircraft with like 66 planes on it. And he was like, I was wondering what the fuck you were drawing for so long. Because sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear. But yeah, so it was called the filmography of aircraft. And I was just going to release it on my store like I'd done any other print.
On your
Right?
Shopify store?
Yeah. But then I was at an entrepreneurial event, and someone from the foundation actually, I showed him it, and he was like, you have to put this on Kickstarter. And this was in March, and so I was like, oh my god, that's so much more work to, now I have to organize Kickstarter. Like, why can't I pre-sell a physical product? Like, we pre-sell, software in the foundation. And I thought it was a good learning experience, so I basically had that conversation with him, and then I came back from Portland, and I learned everything there was to know about Kickstarter. And then I think I launched my campaign like 3 weeks after I got back.
So you had the print. Did you have that created before the foundation, or were you working on it during the foundation?
I was working on it during. I'd usually do that in the evenings.
Okay, just for fun.
Yeah, it was kind of relaxing actually.
Yeah. And so you finished a print. Somebody in the foundation said, why the heck don't you put that on Kickstarter? And you thought it'd be an awesome learning experience. And from that point, in 3 weeks, you had your Kickstarter campaign up and launched?
Right. So I was like, what's the minimum amount that I have to do to get this thing sold?
Uh-huh.
So, and it's like marketing basically. People that would never have known about you before will learn about the brand. So that was a huge reason for doing it, and I thought it would be fun. So I launched it on a Thursday or Wednesday, and like 3 weeks later, and it did pretty good. I think it funded. It funded. That's why I was so distracted. But it funded within like 12 hours. So I asked for $3,000 because I figured, okay, I could probably get that in 30 days and not be embarrassed. So I was nervous that I wasn't going to make it and I was going to be embarrassed. But I did make it in 12 hours. So,
and had you ever done a Kickstarter campaign before, or was this your first?
I mean, I don't think I even backed anything on Kickstarter. Now I've backed a bunch of stuff. It's actually a problem.
And how did you promote it? So you had it launched?
So because I'd done the car print the year before, I knew that a lot of blogs had like picked it up and talked about it. So I have a virtual assistant, like I think everyone should, and so I basically got them to do a Google image search for that image of that print, and I made it like a media list of everyone that had covered that print before, and then I emailed blogs that we just released this sort of sequel print, and I have a blog that details everything if you want to check it out, but so I wrote blogs.
Didn't you get a pickup? I remember seeing something. You posted a link in the Facebook group. You got some good coverage from those blogs, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Can't remember the biggest one, but yeah, I did get some good coverage from. I got interviewed on a couple of things, and it just kind of took on a life of its own. And then actually, the foundation really helped because that's another thing is these net. This is basically a network of entrepreneurs that you're you're connecting with this community, and so I think one guy Tim, he backed me on Kickstarter, and he is something to do with um, like a pilot. Sorry, I hope he's not offended, but I know he has something to do with planes because I know he posted on LinkedIn in some plane groups, and so that's the sort of thing is like this effect where people will sort of support your project by posting it and sharing it with other people that might be interested in it. So that was a huge thing. So it was blog posts and then sharing it.
Yeah, I remember the day you posted that to the Facebook group, and everybody just went nuts because everybody's so heads down focused on SaaS, and here you show up with your Kickstarter campaign, and it was just like so awesome because I'd seen your.
So random.
It was random, but it was like I had seen your designs, and you're a fantastic designer, and everybody just like wanted to support you. You know, they had already fallen in love with you, and anything that we could do to help push you forward. I mean, it was the bandwagon was massive.
Yeah, I felt like I had an army behind me. It was it was really cool.
You absolutely did. Heck yes, you did. So you blew past your goal. Like I think what'd you say, $3,000 goal in what'd you say, 12 hours?
Yeah.
So what'd you actually land up with the Kickstarter?
25,161.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah. That was pretty awesome. Hey Dane.
Hey guys.
What up?
Did the hangout just start, Iowa?
I wore it just for you tonight.
You guys both look cute. Hi, Kat.
Hey, were you at yoga?
Yeah.
You look like you were at yoga.
Do I look like I was at yoga? Yeah. I thought I'd show up in my Sunday best for this hangout.
That's how invested in the foundation I am that I know that Dane was at yoga.
Oh, you came in at the perfect time. We were talking about how Cathryn blew out Kickstarter.
Oh, cool. What's when you come to like the hangout page, I want to know like where's everyone at in the group? Where's everyone's energy at? I kind of want to meet everyone exactly where they are. It'd be kind of nice to hook up a chat room, like a live chat room, one of these times.
That would be awesome. That's a great idea.
To these hangouts.
Hip chat.
So it looks like people are asking a lot about Kickstarter.
I'm actually doing another Kickstarter at the end of this month.
You're doing another one?
Yeah.
Yeah. You probably can't tell us. Can you tell us what this one is?
Oh, it's the filmography of guns. So I'm just going with the theme. Actually, I just asked the Kickstarter people what they wanted, and they told me. And so I've been working on that for the last, few months. Secretly.
Awesome.
Stacey, you look official with your microphone. I need to check it out. I'm gonna try.
Right?
I'm gonna try and one up you right now. Here, hold on a second.
It's very authoritative here.
Hey, Kat, where's your microphone?
Right here.
I want to ask so many questions, but I don't want to ask anything that's been asked.
Go for it. We'll let you know.
How's your heart doing these days, Kat?
It's doing good.
Can you say more about that?
It's pumping along nicely.
Pumping along nicely. I asked my buddy how his heart was doing, and he said it's on an upswing.
Yeah, I think that's what mine is.
Are you in New York right now?
Yeah.
Do you have your dog around?
Yeah, she's sleeping on my feet. You
Uh,
want me to wake her up?
yes.
Where's Winnie?
Winnie is Winnie's running around the house here somewhere.
How do you like having her back?
I love it. I absolutely love it. I want to make sure. Oh, she really looks like she just woke up. Gosh, she's so cute.
Right?
Oh. I want to make sure I don't annoy too many people on that. Like if you were about to share some sort of Kickstarter nugget, why don't you share the rest of all the Kickstarter details for those guys that are curious, and then we can just kind of get into some small talk and chit chat. I got some feedback from the last hangout that one of people's favorite questions was when I asked John Loger what he spends his money on, and they loved that John's answer was, I spend my money on flying to conferences to meeting people. So that's really nothing to do with like foundation tips or tactics, and I found it pretty interesting that that's the feedback I got from some of people's favorite questions. So with that said, I'd love to hear about have you finished any of the Kickstarter details, so people that are curious about that are satisfied, and then we can get into a little bit more about what it's like to be inside Kat's mind on a day-to-day basis on a personal level.
Yeah. So we were just talking about her blowing past her goal and her ending up with, I think, 21,000. If anybody has any specific Kickstarter tactics or questions, throw them out on the live page. I'll follow up with just a few others. How was like the fulfillment with Kickstarter? What kind of I've heard a lot of horror stories on the back end, so I'm super curious how yours was.
Mine actually wasn't bad because I have my fulfillment center set up from a few months ago. I just got all the prints. I use a printer in Brooklyn that's really good, so I signed and numbered them all, and then I shipped them to Minnesota, and they took care of it. The only issue is I didn't really consider international postage as much as I should have. So
I've heard
that was my mistake.
Any tips or tricks? Like, what would be your top to-dos for Kickstarter if somebody's looking at starting a campaign?
Starting a media list. So if you don't have a product from before, you can go on Kickstarter and go to search the successful projects that are in the same niche as you. And so you can go through the most successful, most funded projects that are similar in your niche, and then you basically see what linked to them, what companies blogged about them, where they got everything from. You can do Google image search on their product image and see what blogs and websites feature them. And so you can do this sort of the same strategy. And you should have, when I email blogs, I had a Dropbox folder with high-res images and a description, and just try, like the blog, you shouldn't be making them do any work. So if you send them an email, be like, this is the project, make it short, here's a Dropbox, all the files that you need. So they basically just have to copy and paste something, and that's an article for them. So just make it as easy as possible.
Super easy.
Awesome. I wrote a post about this, which goes into more detail. Get your costs right. So make sure that you're thinking of like the 10% the Kickstarter and Amazon take, the shipping cost, the packaging cost, all that stuff. International shipping costs. Don't ship prints internationally unless you're charging $150 for shipping.
What was the last Kickstarter campaign? I'm jumping in. What was the last Kickstarter campaign you backed?
Oh, I just backed one the other day. What did I back? I backed this Brew Sport. It's like a little pocket you can put your phone into when you're working out. I also bought a 3D printer, which is not going to get here till February, so I'll figure out what I'm going to do with it in the next 6 months. And I bought a couple other things.
It's addictive. It's totally addictive.
Right.
Yeah, it's super awesome. Dane, any Kickstarter questions on the live hangout that you're seeing? Anything specific?
Yes.
Awesome.
How did you strike up the partnership with your tech co-founder?
It was a person I knew. I knew he was a good developer. I trusted his judgment. He's very
How did you meet him?
He's my husband's business partner's brother, and he has already sold a startup before. Like, he was the technical co-founder of a previous startup, so he has a lot of experience in both running a business and, he's very detail oriented, whereas I'm not so much. Oh, we're gonna have a dog off.
Sorry, I couldn't understand you. Can you speak in a language I can understand, please?
Ah.
Winnie!
How did you say you met this technical co-founder?
I met him years ago. I worked with him on a couple other things before. He's the brother of my husband's business partner, and he's worked in businesses before. He just builds things all the time, but he used to be startup before where he was the tech co-founder years ago, and so he was looking sort of for the next thing to build, and he didn't want to have to do the sales and marketing side of things. He was more focused on the development and programming and that sort of thing, which is good for me. So he was very detail oriented, so he can deal with HIPAA compliance and all that stuff. What he tells me what he's doing, and my eyes glaze over. I mean, with HIPAA compliance, I'm like, yeah, just do whatever needs done.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna X-nay the Kickstarter questions. The rest of them, if you guys do have Kickstarter questions for Kat, go ahead and just reach out to her. Facebook. Kat's a brilliant writer, and she's also got a blog called Little Mite. Yeah, littlemight.com. Littlemight.com is a blog that Kat writes at, so you can learn all about her Kickstarter there much more efficiently than on this. What I want to talk about, and I don't think you've probably talked about it yet, is the personal transformation that occurred with you in the foundation in terms of leaving your job and then coming back, and your old employee friends are telling you like how much happier you looked. Have you talked about that?
No. So I bumped in. So I met up with some old friends that I used to work with in the architecture firm, and I met with one girl, and her husband was there, and her husband turned to me and says, "Wow, you look," and he didn't see me that often, but he just said, "Wow, you look so much happier." And I was like, "Yeah, I am so much happier than I was working. It's totally different." I was telling Stacy that even my mom says that the foundation's probably the best thing I ever did.
Well, I mean, what did you notice about the employees when you saw them again? Like, when you were at dinner, and like now you've transitioned out of the being an architect and out of the employee role, and then you were sitting at that table, so they all noticed you. But what did you notice when you were sitting at that table again?
I was just kind of felt bad that they were still there, to be honest. But I just felt, nothing had really changed. They were talking about, oh, we had to work late this night, we had to get this, we had constant deadlines. Nothing has changed, and I'm so glad I'm not there anymore. So it was more, I was trying not to be too happy because I didn't want to be obnoxious. But yeah, I still have dreams sometimes that I'm still at work. I guess nightmares. But when I'm still working there and then I wake up, I'm like, oh, thank God.
How does it feel when you have a nightmare about work and then you wake up and realize that that's no longer your reality?
Oh, it's amazing. I literally I've been getting up at 5 a.m. to work recently, and if you had told me, a year ago, oh, you're going to get up at 5 a.m., I'd be like, no way. But it doesn't even feel like that difficult, because when you're working on your own stuff, it's good. And sometimes I'm like, oh, I have to go to sleep now, but I really want to work on this thing. And then I get excited to get up in the morning. It's like I never experienced that before.
Where does that come from for you? Like, you've never experienced it before, so yeah, where does that come from, do you think?
Well, because you're working on your own projects. You're seeing them grow. Like, you're seeing literally something you started from nothing, from like phoning people, and now you're setting up calls, and then you have a developer and you have someone building it and people expecting things. So you basically started this thing, and it's, you just want to keep growing it. That's pretty much it. And it's fun. Like, I actually really enjoy it. Like, if I'm at home, and I'll probably be working, which is, I don't mind doing.
Well, what does work look for you right now? Like, what did you do today for work?
I had a discovery call this morning, and then with
What are
a
these? What are these discovery calls? What does that mean?
so I sent emails out to people about Clinic Europe, and then someone was interested in the product, so we set up a call, and I called them, and we had, just a 20-minute call, me asking them questions about their business to see if it would both be a good fit, and then I can sort of craft my demo call around what their problems are. So if they say, oh, we're having an issue with this, then in the demo call, I can make sure I mention, oh, for this problem, you would use this. So that's what a discovery call is. So I have a demo call tomorrow morning. But today, what did I do? I had a demo call. I was sending emails, posting my blog. Um, Actually, I pissed around at WordPress for about 3 hours, which I'm annoyed about.
Wait, what happened? What happened for 3 hours?
I was pissing around on WordPress.
You were pissing around on WordPress?
I couldn't get the subscribe button to be green. It was really annoying me. It was gray. And I finally figured it out, though.
Good for you. I'm glad you spent 3 hours figuring out how to change the color of a button.
Well, that was like 45 minutes, but the whole process, what I thought would take like 30 minutes, took me 3 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, it usually takes twice as long and costs twice as much as you think.
Yeah.
That's what I've found.
What's that?
Yeah, go ahead.
I also updated my Kickstarter. Like, I posted an update. Now that everything's shipped and everything, I basically was like, okay, here's where we're at. Here's the finances of the project in case anyone was interested. So that was why I was pissing around in WordPress, because I want to get the blog sorted out so that I could reach out to the Kickstarter people who might be interested. And then I set up a bunch of MailChimp stuff for the next Kickstarter campaign. And so I showed people, okay, this is what I'm working on for the next campaign. If you have suggestions, go to this Google form and let me know. Otherwise, if you want to be updated, join this list. And so that was pretty much it. And then I did some drawing for a bit.
What did you draw?
Guns for the next print.
Guns for the next print.
Yeah, so the next poster I'm doing is called The Filmography of Guns. It's guns from favorite famous movies like sci-fi and real guns. So yeah, that's what I was doing.
Cool. All right. So just recapping, you had a discovery call, and that's different than idea extraction, and it's also different from a demo call. What's this?
It's sort of like idea extraction, but instead of idea extraction, I have something to sell now. So it's basically extracting around the problem that I'm solving. So it's very specific questions like, are you currently doing marketing? Are you currently getting referrals from medical doctors? How are you building up these relationships? So it's very specific questions about one problem rather than does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. So what are you actually discovering in this case? Who came up with this word? Is this Carl?
I don't know. I think Fabi told me, but I think it's Josh's. He might have taken it from Carl. Who knows?
Okay.
So
what are you discovering?
So I'm basically discovering if they have the pain, because I don't want to waste their time or my time trying to do a demo call with someone that doesn't even have the pain. It's not useful.
Got it. Yeah, one of my favorite emails to send to people to find out if they have this pain is like that one sentence question, like you said.
Yeah.
What's Clinic Hero's what pain does Clinic Hero solve again?
Building up professional referrals.
All right.
I actually use your email. And it was the most successful one is the one question email, and then I switched recently to the appropriate person email, and it wasn't as nearly as effective, so now I'm switching back.
Yep. Most of the emails they come up with usually work really well, and sometimes they bomb terribly. So I've heard a few foundation students that use an email and they're like, dude, it sucked. No one responded to it. And I'm like, my bad. My bad. But this one worked. So what was the email? What did it say?
One of them was they're two very similar ones. So it's like, what's your biggest frustration with building up referrals from MDs? And then the other one was, what do you think? What's your best way of building up referrals? So it's like, what are you frustrated with, or what's the best way?
Oh yeah, you'll get replies with that. That's in like I picture being your client and reading that question and kind of having like that visceral like I have to reply to this, like especially when you throw MDs on the end of that email, it becomes so specific that they have to reply. There are ways that you can, for everyone listening, there are ways you can phrase emails and ways that you can phrase questions where people have to reply, like they won't be able to ignore your question. And that's the way that you want to phrase an email to get replies. And this is totally possible. Like if you're asking general questions like what's your biggest frustration in your business, you're not gonna get anything with that. But when you say what's your frustration with referrals when it comes to working with MDs or something, then boom, all of a sudden they have this pain. And a lot of times, and I haven't really taught this to anyone, Kat. Maybe I have, but I've actually found that like if you are going into a new niche or industry, asking a really short email instead of sending just a blanket idea extraction or some variation of an email, you just go into a market and you ask about a pain related to a very obvious topic that gets them to reply, you can very quickly segue into a general idea extraction conversation and get a higher response rate.
Yeah, I had people that were writing me back, oh, I don't currently have a method. I'm like, oh, really? Well, I have a method.
Yeah, perfect. So
Yeah.
how much time and money have you spent developing Clinic Hero?
Because I partnered with Michael, so we're using that money to bootstrap it. So he's basically building it. He is a percentage of the business, and he's building it, and I'm selling it. And so that's what. So instead of spending the money on him or a developer, we're using that to sort of, build a business type of thing. So we use it for, some web hosting things or things that we need for the app, but otherwise we're just using it on marketing.
Cool. What sort of percentage deal did you work out with this guy?
We don't actually discuss what the percentage is, but I'm the majority share.
Do you have a percentage and you would not like to share, or you have not discussed the percentage?
Oh, we have a percentage, but we made a decision at the start that we weren't going to openly, tell people.
Okay. Do you mind saying, is it somewhere between 10 and 50%?
Yeah, it's somewhere between there.
Okay, cool. And you maintained a majority ownership.
Yeah.
Okay, great. It's not like a 50-50 thing.
No.
Good. Okay, that's perfect.
I think you'd approve, but.
What's that?
I think you would approve.
Good. Good deal. For those listening, we talk about how to structure these deals. If you're new to software, if you're new to this type of game, and you have a lot of insecurity around software, it's interesting. Like the more insecure you are, or the more uncertainty you have, typically the higher percentage you give to a developer. And we advise very strongly against 50-50 arrangements. Anyway, those are very specific technicalities we discuss within the foundation. Not to keep the information from you here, but it's kind of dry. So how much time have you spent, Kat, on Clinic Hero? Like you worked. When did you quit? Exactly. When did you leave your job? The foundation started in November. When did you end up leaving your job?
I left my job November 26th, the day before my 27th birthday. I decided that I wasn't going to be in a full-time job anymore. And so I quit, not because of the foundation, just because I was just done. And then I think the foundation started like December 1st, but I didn't even know if, I got in yet. So I haven't been working. I think I finished up a couple of projects at the start of December, so I might have been working for the first 2 weeks. But yeah, other than that, I haven't been.
What have you been doing for money?
My Shopify store. That's sort of I sell prints we mentioned before, so I still work on that for a long until March. I was still shipping and doing everything out of my apartment, so that was taking up more time than I liked. Now I don't do that anymore. More automated, so I can spend more time on IE calls and Clinic Hero and things like that.
And what's behind you on the wall to the right of that photo? Like the big photo. Is that
Oh,
is that foundation stuff?
no. Uh, no. I do have my why statement on the wall. Remember at the start, we had to do this, write our whys, and I made mine into a poster, and it was on the wall next to my desk.
Can you read it to us?
Sure, let me grab it.
Can I just jump in and say that I love that Winnie is napping on your lap during this call? I want to rename the Hangout to Foundation Live with Winnie and Cathryn.
Isn't she cute? Oh my god.
I miss seeing her on the Hangouts.
I like your shirt.
This is it. So
Super cool.
Whoa, hold on.
it said,
Wait, stop. What in the heck is that thing?
it's
How awesome is that, right? Didn't you give the template to some people in the foundation because everybody loved it so much, like the design of it? I'm pretty sure you did.
yeah.
Have you shown this on the Hangout yet?
No.
No, I just took
nuts.
it off the wall.
This is absolutely nuts. This is the why that you created in the foundation, and then you just made it pretty.
Yeah. So I was looking at a Word document, which is just depressing in all manners. So I just made it into this. It says, "My why: become financially independent. Quit your job. Join the value economy. Build a business I can be proud of. I will create the product with my customer, and they will love it. I will get interviewed on Mixergy. I will be invited to the mansion party, and will be one of the success stories on next year's foundation."
Boom.
Then the personal stuff was I want to support my mom. I want to spend 1 month a year with family in Ireland. Freedom. My business was offer customers more value than they pay for. 10x. Automated location independent. Save customers 1 hour per day with my product. I will have a business with 10 paying customers by June 1st. That didn't happen, but 3-year plan. My business will earn high 6 figures per year. I will give back by teaching fellow entrepreneurs how to succeed.
You know what I love is like you can probably check off, I don't know what, 90% of those already.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
The mansion party is funny.
You know, there's also a lot of similarities between your why and Carl's.
Mm.
Yeah, I think I saw his before I did mine, so that might have. Well, some of it, like give people more value than they pay for. I think that should be in everyone's why.
Take
Hi,
care.
Katie. Is that Katie?
Yeah, it's Katie.
Yeah, hey!
Yeah, so Katie, like, I'm recruiting mad to San Diego. For those that are watching in the background, Katie used to work with the foundation, but now she's her own little entrepreneurial thing, and she's also moving to San Diego. Stacy, when are you moving? Cathryn, are you moving San Diego?
Stealing all my Iowa friends.
Yes, I am.
You're gonna have to start a San Diego T-shirt shop.
I think you found your designer right there, probably.
Yeah, they'll be so much easier to make San Diego shirts. They're so much cooler. So as we're sitting here, we're a half hour past the hour. I'm curious if anyone has any final last minute questions. I've got some country music line dancing to go do here in San Diego.
Wow.
So do we have? Let's give everyone 60 seconds or so to send any more questions in. Stacy, can you say a little more in the Slack message to me about what you meant there?
Past the hour, I'm curious. If anyone has any final
Go
last minute
go ahead and pause that video if you're on that page.
country music line dancing to go do here in San Diego. So,
Sure.
do we have? Let's give everyone 60 seconds or so to in.
Hey, Catherine, do you have the video on? I think in the background. Is that
Say a
you?
little more Slack message about what you meant there.
Oh, do I? Sorry.
Yeah,
was
no,
looking at the
Dana, I was
chat.
saying that we should post a photo of Catherine's Y to the Facebook page so the guys on the call can see it.
Absolutely.
Put it on Facebook.
Absolutely.
I want to hear Catherine's pitch for the foundation. For all these students that are listening on this call and resonating with their story, you know, what would you say to them?
I would say that it was the best thing I ever did. I don't think foundation's for everyone. I think as long as you take action, then it's for you. But it's not like when you join the foundation. If you join the foundation and expect 6 months later someone to hand you a business, then that's not going to happen. You have to. It's like hard work. I remember in the community. So the start was like really exciting. Then we're doing idea extraction. Then we're still doing idea extraction. Then we're still doing idea extraction. And it's really hard sometimes to pick up the phone. And at the start, everyone's making these huge, leaps. And then idea extraction can be difficult. Getting people on the phone, keep picking up the phone every day. But as long as you keep taking action every day, then you're going to come out with something. And it might even be a SaaS, but I know other people that, they decided SaaS aren't for them, and now they're doing something else, but they basically used the foundation method, and now they're building another type of business, but it wouldn't have happened without the foundation. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a kid, I think, who's doing a monthly
Right.
bacon business, right? Daniel?
Yeah, Daniel.
Shout out to Daniel. Hey.
Bacon Me Please, isn't that what it's called?
Yeah, give him the plug. Who doesn't love bacon delivered to their doorstep, right?
Right. I know
And it's
Craig
not just because I'm in
something
Iowa.
else, doing a podcast and a bunch of other things. So, yeah, I mean, I would do the foundation. It's so funny, whenever we started the foundation and they had the mindset module, the first module, when we first started it, I was like, when are we going to get to the idea extraction stuff? And whenever people told me, oh, mindset was the best thing out of the foundation, I was like, whatever. I need to find out the meat. But the mindset stuff, actually the best thing. So when we hung out in, I know that if Clinic Hero doesn't work out, and my Shopify store doesn't work out, I'm going to find some other way to make money. And I have, so many ideas that I can just see opportunities where I never would have seen them before. Like when we hung out with Dane at WDS, just hanging about with people that are like-minded, and they're telling me about their business things, and then I can just see where the money's going to come from, which I never would have seen before. So I know that even if this stuff doesn't work out, then I'll figure something else out.
Heck yeah, you will. And I think you're sitting pretty good with Kickstarter and Clinic Hero.
Yeah, but just in case.
Just in case. Dane, do we have any last questions on the live page?
Yes. So for the HIPAA compliance that you have, Kat, did you just have your tech co-founder handle all that?
He did research into it, but we're actually using a company called TrueVault. If you go to truevault.com, and what they are is a HIPAA compliant data storage, and they have an API that you can connect to. So for our software, I didn't realize how complex HIPAA compliance was until Michael started researching it. So what we needed per month, actual IT, we actually need is $20 a month. But for us to start off with a HIPAA compliance server and everything else, it was going to be upwards of $600 a month just to start off. So this software actually allows us to use their server to store all the patient data. So we don't touch any patient data. Basically, we use that software. And there's other software like that out there, so we're not so we're not, totally dependent on this. This is the one we picked to move forward with, and I know that Michael is actually in touch with the co-founder of that company. He actually built a tool for them because he built it for us working with their code, because they basically are such a new company that they didn't have it yet. So he built it and then he made it available for them. So now he's in touch with the co-founder of that company, which can only be good, you know? Did that make sense?
Yeah, sorry, I had my mute on. Yeah, that totally makes sense.
I'm bored by HIPAA compliance too, don't worry.
Oh, that's awesome. That's freaking rad. So, Stacy, why don't you take us home?
Close it out?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Cathryn, thanks so much for joining us, and everybody on the call, thanks for sticking with us through some technical difficulties. Definitely appreciate it. If you resonated with Cathryn's story, if you were on the call on Monday and you resonated with John's story, hit the Apply Now button. I think enrollment opens August 11th, 120 students. I've said it, I don't even know how many times already tonight. But hit the apply and see what happens. I know Cathryn is going to be, I believe she said, coming on, helping out on coaching, so you can get a chance to interact with her and some of the other awesome people within the community. So hit the apply now, and then we got Friday's Hangout coming up with Chris Wackerman, a really good friend of mine, and he's got an awesome story, and he's got a really great wise story too. So it'll be an awesome, fun hangout. So I think Andy might be taking that one, or maybe it's Dane. Remains to be seen. But for everybody who joined us tonight, and for Cathryn, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. Dane, any final words?
This is the place to be, man. The foundation is the place to be.
Yeah.
There's no better place. I created this first foundation years ago all by myself just because I wanted a bunch of friends to hang out with that we could talk about business all day, and it's happening. I've got all these foundation friends all around the world now, and I'm thinking about moving in with some of them and hanging out. So this is the place to be if you want to be in a family that kicks ass. This is where you want to be. And I remember this may be a little bit on the edgier side of things, but well, maybe I won't share it publicly because there's some curse words involved. But just know that this is a family that I hold very dearly, and this is a family that I take really good care of, and this is the family that I think about all the time. And so, if you'd like to be a part of this family of entrepreneurs, go ahead and apply. And even if you don't join the foundation this year, we just keep getting better and better. So, yeah, that's all I got to say.
You should
Awesome.
join. It's awesome.
What'd you say?
I said you should join. It's awesome.
Go line dance.
All right. See you guys. Bye, Kat. Thanks for coming on.
Bye, guys.
You're beautiful as always. See ya.
Thanks. Bye.